Hi guys, welcome back to my Steps to Sobriety, my show on YouTube and as a podcast with me, your host, Stefan Neff. Another fantastic day for an interview, and I was looking really forward to this interview because I've got Juan Ayala with me. Juan is an actor, is a podcast host, he is a man who is going out there and he's leaving a mark on his surrounding. He is an actor, and I wanted to have him on because I personally don't deal well with rejection. I often it rips my heart out. And here he is a man who's living in a workplace where he must be applying to so many shows, to so many, gigs, and inevitably rejection will be part and parcel of his daily life. Now, if I had to do that, oh God, so I can't wait to talk to Juan. So Juan, welcome to my show.
Thank you so much for having me. Happy to be here.
Oh man, it is. I'm in awe. I'm in awe of you as an actor and of all the actors out there, because this, in my opinion, this is one of the hardest jobs that you could possibly have, because you're putting yourself out there. You're putting everything in your heart out to show, only to be shredded either by rejection because you don't get the gig, and then when you do get the gig, and then you've got some idiot writing maybe a not as flattering review of you. God, my... Is that? Are you actually a glutton for punishment? Is that it? Are you actually a masochist? Or let's rephrase that a bit. What made you go into acting? Was that something that was close to your heart from a young age onwards?
So yes, absolutely. I definitely was exposed to music at a very early age. It was not something that I had experienced much until I'd really gotten to school, and also went to a very musical church. Well, when I was growing up, my parents were Christian, and I grew up very much a Christian, and music was a huge part of those church services. And because of that, I just developed such a huge love for singing and for music, and I eventually learned how to play piano and so much things involving music. And then when I got into my final year of elementary school, or of middle school, I guess it was, I went to the same school for like my whole childhood, so it's not really divided up traditionally. But because of that, I did my first musical when I was 12 years old, and it was based on the stories of Dr. Seuss, and it was called Seussical. A wonderful show that was on Broadway for a while, and that just it combined so much of what I loved already, because as a kid who grew up in the 90s, I loved Disney and Disney films and all of that, the music and the colors. So getting to do something super colorful and musical like Dr. Seuss stories, and it just opened my eyes to what performing really was. It's not just you standing in a choir singing or standing at a microphone. It's you're singing and dancing and moving and acting, and all of that combined just like absolutely made me fall in love with it. But then we moved after that, so I didn't get to do much theater until several years later. But I eventually found it and fell in love with it all over again.
Oh, how beautiful is that? Because it is so beautiful. It is you, once you are on stage and you experience this all in, there's all focus on the here and now, and music is often so empowering and going to your heart, and you're amongst people who are all enjoying that. I can imagine the relationships, the power that is the feelings that are just being put out there is very addictive.
Yeah. There's so much energy that just pours out when you're on stage. You feel this energy with the audience because they're being entertained by your work, and you're also feeling all this energy and adrenaline with everyone else on stage with you. And again, just beautiful. That boom of the music just like gives you goosebumps, and you're just ready to go. Like all nerves to me disappear the second that the music starts when you're on stage.
Beautiful. Are you anxious before? Do you have got the flutters? Do you feel nervous? Or are you looking forward to the thrill?
It's a bit of both. You know, you hear the chatter and the hum of the audience when you're waiting off stage. And then the lights go down and they start applauding because they know the show is starting, and maybe there's an announcement or something. So you have a moment to to really calm down. But something that I was taught very early by so many of my wonderful music teachers was to channel all of that energy and just convince yourself that it's excitement and not nerves. Because when it's nerves, you can get in your head and you start to doubt yourself and all of that. But when you tell yourself it's excitement, you're excited to go on and just unleash all this energy, then it just way smoother of a process, you know?
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Imposter syndrome. Is that exactly
My middle name?
right? Okay. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with that voice? Because obviously here you are. If you're successful, you can channel it. And there's like little angel and a little devil sitting here on your shoulders. How do you deal with the bugger on that side?
Oh man. Honestly, it can be a big struggle. It's something that I know so many actors deal with and have to confront head on. But imposter syndrome is it is that little devil on your shoulder telling you you're not good enough or you don't deserve this. Why are you here? And you have to just convince yourself, because Lord knows some actors do hundreds of auditions a year and they book that one job. And when they finally book that job and they're on set or they're on stage, then that doubt starts to come in. It's just, you have to tell yourself, I deserve to be here. I did all of those other auditions. I worked hard. I did callbacks, multiple auditions for this role. You just have to convince yourself and tell that little bugger to shut it. And just tell yourself, I deserve to be here. I worked hard. Because, actors, we have years of training and then years of experience on top of that, and facing all of this rejection, that when we finally get to where we want to be, we're doubting ourselves all of a sudden. And it's just telling yourself, I deserve to be here. I am enough. And I got this for a reason, because a whole team of people in the casting department, producers, the director, the writers, they all said, yes, this is our person. So who are we to tell all of those people, you're crazy, you cast the wrong guy? Nope. They cast who they felt was the best.
Ooh, nicely turned around. Oh, I love that. I love that. Okay, now that is something to take home. And it is, because it's so hard. I mean, even now I'm what is it? This is close to the 300th interview I'm doing.
Wow.
And it is beautiful. I'm honored. I've got a privilege to talk to such wonderful people as you yourself. So I've got a privilege to learn, to constantly challenge myself, to constantly expand my horizon. It's fantastic. But yet I still got this imposter syndrome. Who am I to talk about that? I'm a doctor. So what? I'm not a doctor in addiction medicine. I'm not a doctor in whatever. And who am I to be a podcaster? So here you go. So I know you've got your own podcast, and you're talking. It's actors with issues, isn't it? Is that the name of your podcast? Show us the artwork, because it's actually a cool.
There it is.
There you go. Actors with issues. I love it. That's a bloody good, nice artwork you've created here.
Thank you.
Can you imagine? I mean, it is for you to come out there. Most actors will probably rather want to show their good side. They want to sell themselves. You, as an actor, you are a brand. You are marketing your own brand. To now say, well, actually, I've got an issue. It's so important that you do it. So that I've got such a beautiful feeling about that. It's so beautiful that you come out, because you're breaking taboos. You are demystifying mental health in your own group, in your own tribe, and that is so fantastic. But what do other actors actually say about that? But do people frown upon that?
No, I've actually never, or at least not to my face, or maybe through a message, but no one's ever said that, we're putting too much out there. I think that as much of a stigma that things like mental health have been in the past, everyone's becoming much more open with it, especially due to the pandemic. We're over 2 years into it at this point, and we've all dealt with something. We've all lost someone. Lord knows I've lost people due to COVID. You have to talk. You have to. I started therapy during the pandemic, like for the first time in my life. Lord knows I needed it beforehand, but it's important to really talk about all of these issues in a lighthearted way. Sometimes the conversations that we have on my show can get a little bit dark, but it's also enlightening because people are just so willing to be open and talk about these things and the struggles they've dealt with and how they've overcome them, not just the struggle, but how they've dealt with it and how they are where they are today. Because I've been very fortunate to speak with actors who are very successful. They might not be household names yet, but but they're on their way up to it, and they've had their successes, and they talk about the journey getting up there.
Beautiful. And in all fairness, you could argue other way around. If you have not gone through the darkness yourself, how the hell can you portray someone who is suffering from alcoholism, addiction, depression, anxiety attacks, etc.? So, and it's the same other way around. You could make that argument with junior doctors. Sometimes I look at junior doctors and they look as if they just barely had screwed off the training wheels on their bike, and here they are talking and it's a prejudice. The older we get, the younger our young doctors look to us older doctors, right. And you think, my God. But I always believed that you can't just go school, university, and now I'm a doctor. Bullshit. Right. No, you need to live. You need to experience life. Only then can you understand your patients and their fears and their anxieties, all that. So I think there is a similarity there between the two of our professions. We need to go through harder times to appreciate the light. We need to see the darkness.
Absolutely.
So that's beautiful that is coming out, and that you can rephrase that as a strength rather than a darkness. May I ask, are there actually figures out there how many actors do actually break even, and how many actors are struggling, and how many actors are struggling with mental health? I have no idea about suicide rates, about other markers for poor mental health amongst actors. I think I only know cliches. You are really there. What is your take on things?
So in terms of those who have sort of broken even or broken out into the industry and are successful, the rate is astronomically low because the Actors Union in the US, at least, SAG-AFTRA, it's a Screen Actors Guild, and I believe AFTRA is the American Federation of Radio and Television Artists. I think that's what that whole phrase stands for. So for them, they have statistics of how many actors, members of the guild or of the union, make above a certain amount of money, which is, again, astronomically low. And they have it broken down like 0.001% makes above $1 million a year, and then like a very high number makes less than $35,000 a year.
Interesting.
And, so the $35,000 they use, that, or $36,000, I believe, is what they use because that's when you qualify for health benefits through the union. You have to make that as a minimum, which most actors do not make that much money. And that
interesting
in a year just from acting. Because for any television show or for a film, you're usually making about $1,000 a day. And very few actors are working over 30 days on a set a year, at least none that are paying those minimums. If you're doing a short film, you might not be getting paid anything at all. If you're doing a local commercial that's low budget, it could be $100 a day. So you really have to work a lot. It depends. If it's a small local, like your local mattress store, they might pay you $200. But if it's like Sprint or McDonald's, they'll pay you several $1,000s to do that, because it depends on the way that actors get paid is depending on where it'll be shown. So if it's a national commercial like a Super Bowl, there are actors that make like $50,000 off of one Super Bowl commercial.
Right.
It's crazy, and those are the people who can qualify for those health benefits. But there's only so much work out there for actors and to get.
How many actors are in a guild? How many? I mean, it's one of these dream jobs, isn't it? It is equally. Hey, I want to be a singer. I want to be the new Bon Jovi. All those kind of things. I mean, there are figures out there of bands. I think only 1 in 10,000 bands actually makes it, kind of a thing. So that's the story that I remember from music, from the music industry. How many actors are in the United States? To get an idea. Any idea?
I believe it's around 150,000 members of the union. And that's just one union. There's a separate union for theater actors. That's Actors Equity Association. Those are like the Broadway actors. Yeah. And you can be part of both. Lots of actors are part of both because they've done the Broadway or the other theater that pays in New York or in Los Angeles or wherever. And then there's the Screen Actors Guild, which is for television, radio, film, now internet, like web series and things like that are part of it. But yeah, of 150,000 guild members, So
make it times 2. That's ballpark 300,000 actors in the United States. So 1 in 1,000 in the United States is an actor. To actually break it down like that, well, that's and you're all competing for I don't know how many chances. So you mathematically you see already the challenge that is there.
Yeah.
My goodness. Okay.
Speaking statistically, for one role, for a 1-line role, let's say it's an episode of Law and Order, and there's a waiter who says, "Here's your check." About 5,000 actors are submitted for that role by their agents and their managers. So poor casting directors have to go scrolling through all these headshots, looking for who looks like a waiter. Oh, he's too handsome. Oh, he's too short. Oh, he's too young. So they get the group maybe down to 25 actors that they will then ask to come in for an audition, or these days it's you record your tape and you send it in. Yeah. And then only one person gets the job. So just getting an audition, I tell every actor, if you got an audition, that is a huge victory already, because you beat out 4,790 or 4,950 other people for this audition. Wow. And then if you get the callback or the role, that's of course a huge win. But actors tend to be like, "Oh, I didn't get it. I suck. I'm a loser," or whatever. And it's just absolutely not. It's you beat out all these people already because your headshot looks like the role. So you've got your marketing materials down. Your headshot's like your logo, that's the eye-catching graphic that they're like, "Oh, that's who it is." This head, like I have a headshot of me in a suit. That headshot got me a role as a news reporter on a television show last year. I have others where I'm like in a plaid shirt to look like a college student, a little younger. And, you just have to have this variety. I have the ones with my glasses, so I look nerdy,
Nice.
I'm a huge nerd, so it's not hard to pretend.
Well, and that's where luck strikes. If you actually get a role that reflects a part of you, who you actually are, rather than let's say, if you're intrinsically a warm and loving person, and you have to play a psychopath or someone who is extremely bad, and it goes against everything that you personally believe in. So, and it's of course much more of a challenge. But let's come to that in a moment, because it's the rejection, the way we perceive what is happening around us that is often so bad. I'm very good in catastrophizing. I'm very good in, oh my God.
Because self-sabotage.
Exactly. How do you deal with that? Have you got that trait in you? And how do you deal with it? What do you do when there's just another rejection? How many rejections would you get a day, or let's say a week?
So I actually looked up before our interview. I wanted to make sure I had my numbers correctly, for me personally, at least. So I looked at my, in 2021 was the first year of my career that I've had a manager for a full year. So I had, I asked them, like, can you send me my submission report, which was like 30 pages long.
Oh, wow.
Because it was for the whole year.
Sure.
So in the year 2021, they submitted me for 1,056 roles. Throughout the whole year. And this is for 1-line roles on TV shows, because I'm in New York City. There's a ton that films here. You know, the whole Law and Order franchise, the whole FBI franchise on CBS. There's Netflix films here. There's films and you know, so much stuff is here. It's not just Los Angeles like everyone thinks. In New York, there's plenty of television. So and that also includes theater roles as well. So it's over 1,000 submissions. And of those 1,000, I got 82 auditions.
Okay.
So just under 10%. So if you know, that's just over one a week, you know, 1.4 auditions a week.
Right.
You know, so I was fortunate that I would have at least one audition a week. Usually some weeks I'd have 3 in a week and then nothing for a month, but then I have like 5 again. So
nice. It
they
comes
all
in
rush at the same time.
Exactly.
Yeah. It depends on the sort of season.
Yeah. How cool is that? Do you know each and every submission? Do you, or is it just happening without you actually even knowing what is going on?
So the submissions, you don't know of them unless you ask your manager or your agent. But then they will tell you the ones they already submitted for sort of after the fact. Good. But they would be emailing you. You'd be getting 50 emails a day if you ask them for, let me know every time you submit me. You'd get constant emails.
Right. So you're protecting yourself to a certain degree by having actually a manager who actually runs that behind you. That's your focus.
And those don't include, in my mind, that big number doesn't include the times I've submitted myself for other roles. Because your agent and your manager, they submit you for a whole group of roles that you don't have access to as an actor. They have access to the big shows, the big commercials, the big movies. Otherwise, all these amateurs would be saying, give me a chance. I want to be a Hollywood star.
Of course. That makes sense. Logical. Okay. And so how many have you got then? How many have you sent out? Have you got a ballpark there?
I don't do it often enough. That's the thing, because sometimes I'll be busy with auditions. I'm like, I don't want more. I'm not going to subject myself to more. And usually the ones you submit yourself for are lower paying jobs because it's not like the bigger high finance projects. So I'll be like a theater show for $200 a week. That's abysmal. I can't live off of that. So I'm like, not even going to bother. Sure. I will submit myself for like a student film or a short film if I want to just work on something on my day off, or try and, you know, just because I haven't worked on a set since last January. I booked a role right at the end of 2020 for right after the holidays. So my only booking last year was January of 2021. And I've had multiple callbacks and all this other stuff. You know, I've had lots of auditions, thankfully, as we just heard. But in terms of booking, that was the one. So I will try and submit myself every once in a while, look through the lists and see what I fit for. But otherwise, I try not to, because it can be a lot. Because I also work, you know, I have a day job. I have 2 podcasts that I host. I'm in a relationship. I've got enough on my plate. I don't need more.
Well, that's it, isn't it? And that's a balance. That's what you need to do. But you're truly a thespian. You're truly, you live, you truly enjoy the stage, and let it be film or let it be theater. And it's hard. It's hard because one of the things I have learned, the most important thing really that I've learned is to show up, to be actually reliable and to be there all the time. And when you say you do something, you actually do it. It doesn't matter if you like it or if you don't like it, you actually follow through. And I think that is such a beautiful thing when you actually do that. And for you pointed towards the multiple roles that you play in your life. You have to bring the money in. May I ask, what is your day job?
So I do a number of things for this website called MediaVillage.com. I host a podcast for them. I've been a freelance journalist for them for 5 years now. So I write television reviews. I interview some folks. I will cover events as a reporter. Nice. So I do that, and I'm doing that in a much larger capacity now. Nice. I used to work at a gym. I was working at a gym full time for a whole year. Right after the pandemic, and we sort of reopened gyms. I was working there prior to COVID, and then the pandemic shut down. And then when we finally reopened, I worked as a manager for a year, and it was the most draining, soul-sucking job I have ever had. I worked a lot of crappy jobs, but that it was just, and again, that was the first year that I had a manager, a talent manager. So I was getting up before 4 a.m. to go open up a gym because we opened at 5. And I'd been working these 9-hour shifts. I was exhausted. I'd come home and have to study my lines on 4 hours of sleep and try and get a tape done looking like a zombie. And then other days I would be working as I wouldn't get home until midnight from work sometimes because I would do the closing shift. So it wasn't consistent. So like my sleep schedule was just so off.
Oh no.
And during that time I was also hosting 2 podcasts. I'm also emailing and booking interviews and doing my research, and it was just so much. I had to leave that job. The second an opportunity came up at MediaVillage for me to get a better position that was a work from home, flexible position, I took it and ran. I told my boss, all right, here's my 2 weeks notice. And she said, I'm out too. She was leaving as well. She was like, okay,
there you
we'll
go.
Together.
Well, honestly, sometimes you have to. And that's the problem. It is often enough we are such people pleasers that we have not learned to say no, especially in a world of uncertainty, such as with you. You don't know where your next role is coming from. So there is all the fear of existence, the fear of uncertainty. I very much understand where you're coming from. At the same token, I love it that you actually realized how counterproductive that was. Is burnout a close friend of yours?
Oh, we're best friends, or we were. We haven't talked in a while, thankfully.
Oh,
since switching to this new role, and I'm working from home. Yeah. I don't start work until like 9, 10 a.m. certain days, so I get to like wake up and have breakfast with my partner, and just catch up on the day, and I'm not sneaking, tiptoeing out at 4 a.m. to go to work, which was horrible. But during that time that I was working at the gym, I was getting so many theater auditions, and those to me are 10 times harder than film and TV, because for film and TV, sometimes it's one line, sometimes it's a couple of scenes, which is a little tiring. But for theater, it's here's a new song you've never heard of, so you have no reference point, so you have to learn it. Here's a dance combination you have to tape and send in, and here's 3 scenes. So it's this whole, like, it ends up being like a 10-minute video you're sending rather than 20 seconds for that 2-line role. And it's just so much information you have to learn and retain, and then immediately forget when it's done, because then you have to move on to your next audition and try and balance that. And there was this one weekend I had such horrible burnout. I had like a mini meltdown. I had to tell my managers, like, so to go back, I'll tell the whole story. But it was for a new musical that would be up in Maine, which is in like, way up in New England, several hours from New York. And it was for a new musical. So it was one of those that it's like, here's 2 songs you've never heard of, 3 scenes, all this material. And what was tough about my work schedule was that on Sundays I would work until 7 p.m. And then the next day on Monday, I would open up the gym. So I'd be at work before 5. So I had less than 12 hours away from work.
Brutal.
So I got home on Sunday night after work and was immediately going through my lines. I was so tired and just dreading the next morning, having to wake up even earlier. And I was trying to, I was recording my scenes. I'd done the song already because music is easier for me to memorize because there's like rhythm and there's a track to help you and all of that. So I did the song, and then for the scenes, we did the first one. It was a struggle to get through. And I got to the second scene and I just couldn't retain. It was the simplest dialogue and I just couldn't get the words out. I couldn't remember the flow of the dialogue. I was getting so angry at myself that I like needed a minute. I was like getting warm and I had to go get water and just take a breath. And then I like just fell to the ground and like put my hand in my face and was just crying. I was like, I'm so tired. I can't do the simplest thing. Like, why is this so hard? And my poor partner was here. He helps me with all of my audition tapes. He's my reader. And, he was just trying to calm me down. And I immediately emailed my managers and I said, the tape wasn't due until like 4 p.m. the next day, but I was working until 2 p.m. from 5 a.m. So I'm going to rush home and do this tape after working 9 hours. So I told them, I said, I have to decline this one. I'm so sorry that I waited this long to do it, but I wanted to take as much time to learn all the material because it was so much. And they're like, it's totally fine. And I asked them, I'm like, can you not submit me for anything for this week?
Nice.
And they were very flexible, and they said, absolutely. You know, I told them, like, I'm in shambles right now. Like, I need to like take some time for myself. So that week I only focused on my job. And I think I had done several podcast episodes, like sort of backlogged. So I didn't have to worry about appointments and everything. So I really just focused on work and sleep and exercise and just prioritizing myself and my health again, because I wasn't doing that for so long. And again, that's why when this new opportunity came for me to have a more flexible job to work from home, I immediately took it and just made it work for me, because I needed it, because otherwise my managers might have gotten a little tired of me and not tired of me, but just been like, well, you're burning out every couple of months. Like, take care of yourself. You know, and they're very big advocates of that. If I have a vacation or anything, I tell them like, hey, I'm taking some time for myself. I'm going to be away from these dates. Then they won't send me auditions during that time. And they're very respectful of that. They've been super supportive and very, very wonderful.
Beautiful.
It's important for actors to have a team like that is there to support you, not just be like, work, you need to book something.
Yeah, exactly.
They know how it works. They've been managers for years. So they know the statistics of 1,000 submissions, less than 10% auditions in one booking. They understand the scope and the scale of it. They know those sort of statistics, you know.
Man, you're so right as far as the need for a support system is concerned. It is so hard for us to be in this leading role. I mean, when you do your role, you are it. You're the man. You're whatever you are responsible to yourself. And there's, I think, a temptation there that you think, no, I'll do it on myself. Right. And I guess we all need to recognize that however strong you are as a leader and whatever role you have, that strong role within your own society, you need to be aware that these are very lonesome positions. So you need to support. And you spoke very, very positively about your managers, that they're looking out for you. And how beautiful is that? Who else is in your support team? What is your dream team that you've put together?
So my current dream team, my boyfriend is the most supportive person in my life right now. We've been together for 3.5 years, and whenever I have an audition tape, I'll email him the scene so he has it in front of him, and can, you know, help me run lines, and he'll be my partner off camera. And yeah, he's incredibly supportive, and he celebrates the victories and he mourns the losses with me. And he's wonderful. And
what does he do? Is he an actor as well?
He has acted before. He did in college. He did a few plays in high school and in college, but he's, you know, in health and studying that. He's almost done with that. So yeah, and he's been, again, wonderfully supportive. I also have a mentor who I've known for 6 or 7 years at this point. He is actually the editor-in-chief of where I work now. So he got me that position years ago as a freelancer, because he needed a writer to write about Spanish language television, and they didn't have anyone. He knew I was a writer because I was in a play he was a producer of, and, you know, just sort of things clicked and sort of led to that. And here I am working on a much larger capacity for the company now. So he's been wonderfully supportive. He's gotten me meetings and will put me on people's radar, because he's been in entertainment as a journalist for over 30 years. So he knows lots of people. So he's able to at least get me on people's radar and get me a meeting or an introduction, or, you know, we'll go to events, whether they're work related or not. We'll go to different events together and just meet people and network and all of that, because that's super important as well, is knowing who is in your circle and who not only who can help you out. I don't like thinking just like that, who can help you out, but also who you can collaborate with. It's better to think of it as a collaboration rather than take.
Absolutely. But that is so beautiful, isn't it? Because you were pointing towards helping a new upcoming production. You were saying the college plays, or you were saying sort of new independent filmmakers who maybe you assist on your days off. But that is, you don't know if they're going to be the next big thing 5 years down the line. So it is growing together and growing the connections, growing a community and becoming known, not just for the sake of I'm known now, but actually giving out. And I strongly believe in karma. If you keep giving, if you keep showing up, then suddenly new opportunities will come back to you, and you're living proof there for that concept. I guess the law of attraction is very much
believer.
Isn't it? No, that's brilliant. So here you are. You've actually taken a lot of active steps. And it's intriguing to hear that you were working in the gym, because obviously you want to be looking your best. Right. How much does that work all together? So you're working 2-3 jobs to make ends meet, yet you have to look good. So that means you have to do your workouts, like it or lump it. You have to eat healthy, because otherwise your skin looks like shit. So how do you do all that? How does that work? I mean, it works for someone like, I don't know, Schwarzenegger. He probably had his private chef and, everything, is, of course, he can focus on his life, but not when you're a young actor, or when you're an actor, not necessarily young. You might be 10 years into the game, but you have not yet made the breakthrough. You still need 1 or 2 day jobs. How does that work? I mean, I'm struggling in my job to get the me time in that I deserve, and I'm not successful in that. What about you?
I mean, so I have like a color coded Google Calendar, because I have interviews for 2 podcasts that I produce and host. There's another one that I just co-host, and then there's work related things, personal things, auditions that I have to keep track of. So I just have this like a rainbows, colors everywhere on this calendar, and I'll try and squeeze in a workout like 3 times a week if I can. Nice. Something. And I only just started going back to the gym because I was sort of finding my footing and was dealing with some mental health things, and just was struggling with motivation and all of that. And especially working from home, because you're not out already, you can't just be like, oh, let me stop by the gym, I'll bring my shorts with me or something. You're like, I have to get off the couch with my laptop where I'm doing my emails and then somehow motivate myself to walk to the gym. And, it is a struggle. And when I was working at the gym, it was easier for me to work out because I would work out during my break. I would have an hour-long break. I don't need an hour to eat or anything. So I would work out for 45 minutes, eat my lunch really quick, and then go back. So I was working out a little bit during that time. When I was working in the gym part-time, I was working out like 3 hours a day. I'd work out on my break and then stay after my shift and work out for 2 more hours, because I didn't have a manager at that point. So I wasn't auditioning regularly. I just moved to New York at that point. So it was just like work out, work, and then go home, rest, and do it all over again. But once I started getting auditions, and it's a great position to be in. Of course, what actor doesn't want to have an audition every week, So it's like, it feels silly to complain about it, but it's also like, well, no, you have to recognize where you're blessed, and also recognize that it's hard. Everyone, the most fortunate people can still have mental health issues, even if they're a millionaire. It doesn't matter how much money you have or how busy or not busy your schedule is. We all have the same issues.
Exactly. And it's so normal. I mean, depression lies close to my heart because I certainly have been in the darkness myself. And at the moment, I put a book together where we've got 16 co-authors who describe their journey with depression. And I do one for girls and one for boys. So boys do cry is one of the things. And I guess one of the big lessons I've learned myself, and that comes out in this book, it doesn't matter what skin color, what position in society you have, what gender you subscribe to. No, depression hits everyone, and it's a chameleon. It comes in all kind of shapes and sizes. Some of us are down, some of us are angry. Yeah. And that was mine. when you're angry, I loved it how you described it when you had this burnout there, when you simply could not even function, not even the simplest lines that you could remember. And it's so easy to fall into that. And for you, it was burned out, or for others, it is a low mood for a longer period of time. No, wow. I mean, I take my hat off to you. I mean, you are out there. You are leaving a mark. You're living a life to the fullest, and I'm can
trying.
see. Yeah, exactly.
I'm certainly trying.
but that is beautiful. That is, you have seen that what you're doing is a privilege to yourself, and you have learned at an early stage that maybe completely bang, 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 and then burnout is maybe not the way to go. And we all need to learn that. We all need to learn to look after ourselves.
Yeah.
What other routines would you recommend as far as other young actors are concerned? Routines of mental well-being and being sustainable, I guess, is the word that I was looking for. What do you do with food? I mean, how do you try to keep healthy there?
So I was very blessed. My dad was a chef for the majority of my life. He has not been for about 5 years.
Yeah.
It's funny. People always assume, oh, you must have eaten great. I'm like, no, he just cooked for 12 hours a day. He doesn't want to come home and cook more.
I know.
So instead, he taught us all how to cook. So I love cooking. If I wasn't an actor, I would have a restaurant. I am a firm believer in that. I would have my own restaurant and be a chef, or maybe be someone's private chef. Who knows? But my boyfriend eats well, that's for sure, because I cook all meals here.
Oh, good on you. But it's also therapeutic, isn't it? Yesterday,
absolutely.
I had friends around and we fired up the pizza oven. And it was so beautiful. For 4 hours, I was in the kitchen and out in the pizza oven. And it was fun. And it was so beautiful because I had not done a decent cooking stint for a while, and I was knackered afterwards. But it was good. It tasted yummy. I had it down to a fine art. It was such a thrill. I loved it. Yeah. So it's cool to hear you finding that other part in your life where you can put a smile on someone else's face, but in turn also have a smile on your face and an achievement, the little successes.
That is absolutely my love language, is acts of service. I learned that a long time ago, especially, and mind you, it's one of those things like, I love you when I cook for you, because that's where I put all of my love is into food. My mom is a wonderful cook. All of my aunts and uncles are wonderful cooks. Only a few of them are like professional, like as their job, but everyone in my family cooks. Lord, Thanksgiving and Christmas feasts. I have 20 cousins on my mother's side of the family. So these are huge potlucks where everyone brings like a tray of chicken, of roast, Spanish rice. Someone brings, just all this wonderful food. I love the holidays for that reason, because you just feel the love through everyone's cooking.
Oh, beautiful.
And like you said, it is an art, the culinary arts. It is definitely an art form. And when you can be creative and mix things up, and I rarely follow recipes. I'll look for like, okay, cook at this temperature, and that's about all I need. I know what seasonings I want today. I know what side dishes, and it very much is therapeutic for me. I'll tell my boyfriend that the kitchen is my zen. Like, don't come to the kitchen, stay in the room. I'm going to cook. This is my quiet time. I'll pop in a podcast and I'm chopping vegetables and I've got the oven on, and it's such a wonderful little therapeutic thing for me. I love cooking for that reason. It's just so calming to me. And if you're having a bad day, you just take your frustration out on the chicken cutlet you're hammering down or whatever it is.
And that's true, isn't it? That's exactly it. But here you are. I mean, look at all the active steps that you have taken in your life to be the person now who you were. You turned up regularly. You looked after yourself. You put together a tribe of a support network. You have identified those things that are important to you, and you try as much as you can to live up to those standards, to integrate those things that make you strong and sustain you. You are looking after yourself with the food, with the sleep whenever you can get it. There are so many insights that you have had and that you have now turned into action. And that is beautiful to hear, because that makes you strong. You have developed the emotional maturity to actually see, okay, this is me at my absolutely worst. And you have learned the lessons about it. You actually actively confront taboos and demystify mental health through your show, through your podcast. How beautiful is that? These are all active steps where you didn't just sort of float around and see what happens in your life, but you actually said, nah, shit, I need to go down there. That you took therapy. Man, that is beautiful. So you are creating success by maintaining the core of you intact, by working along on your relationship, working on your career, working on your wealth, working on your body and your health. It's beautiful to hear that, man. It's beautiful. You give yourself the best chance, and you're in a very unpredictable workspace. You're in an unpredictable country. You're in an unpredictable society. For Christ's sake, there's nothing predictable. There's no certainty in you, apart from the fact that you are a born survivor, because that is very clear to me. Would you describe yourself as that?
Firstly, thank you for saying that, because, I struggle. I'm saying all of this and having all this advice and sharing my experience, but I still struggle with imposter syndrome. Lord knows every other day, I think to myself, I didn't do enough today. Again, with all of the nonsense that I do, again, my color coded calendar, I'll look at my day off, the one day that's just white and there's nothing on it. I'll think, I should have edited today. I should have booked an interview. I hate hustle culture, and it's such a prevalent thing in among actors. And I really don't like it, because you're going to just burn yourself out. And what good are we to ourselves and to other people if we're burnt out? And that's exactly what all this hustling and grinding and all of that leads to. It's like, no one's going to pay attention to you if you show up to the audition room and you're exhausted with bags under your eyes and you can't sit up straight because you're so tired, and you're malnourished because you don't take care of you have pizza and you have $1 slice of pizza instead of like something healthy.
So true.
Yeah. I would definitely describe myself as a survivor. There's a lot that I have been through, and I suffered from depression at a very, very young age. That was something that I struggled with very early on. Around 13 years old, I had thoughts of suicide. Thankfully did not take any action toward it, but struggled with that from a very young age, and didn't talk to anyone about it for years. And going to therapy for the first time last year was unpacking all of this trauma that I had, and it literally felt like a physical release. When I had done like about a month of therapy, just like once a week, and talking about all of these things, it felt like I had all this tension inside of me, and like now I could finally just breathe and relax and be, because all of this negativity that I had and trauma that I had was just physically bounding me. And when I finally got to talk about it and hear from someone, from a therapist, that I'm not just a survivor, I'm a thriver, and just learning that, like I said before, that I was enough, and that no matter what I do, I am enough, and I deserve to be here. It's just imposter syndrome from day-to-day life, not just career. It's just like, I deserve to be here. I deserve to be in this apartment. Exactly. I deserve to be in New York City, chasing the career that I want while working on something else that I love to do. And just sort of going through that and going through those motions day to day can be difficult. There are some days that if it rains for too many days in a row, I'll feel depressed because I didn't get any sunlight. I have a vitamin D deficiency, and I have seasonal affective disorder. So
exactly.
All these things, you just have to learn how to take care of yourself. And again, I do that with food. I cook delicious food, but I make sure it's healthy. I'm not a big fan of salads, so I'm not often cooking that, but I love like roasted vegetables, and I'll try and make that as nutritious, because nothing heals like food, like a nice home cooked meal
Mm.
made with love that really like can turn my whole day around.
So true. So true. And again, then use that and create compound interest with it, because you've got that love that you've put into the food that then shines onto your boyfriend in this case, or maybe onto your family. That then leads to a positive communication, which then reinforces your good feeling. So there you are. So you're starting an avalanche. You're starting with little positive steps. You start a movement, so to speak, in a little mini movement, like a Mexican wave going through your apartment here. And that's beautiful. We keep forgetting that the power of such little gestures. And I love to hear that you're doing that. Just a little bit, the bringing your boyfriend a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or something like that, just out of the blue, and say, here, I love you. Boom. End of the story. That's the emotional bank account where we can pay in, and the dividends that you get out of that can be so traumatic. And sometimes we keep forgetting that, especially when the times get hard and we want to feel sorry for ourselves and feel maybe when we are not our best selves. Keep showing up and keep doing those little things, and that will be an amazing reward waiting for you. Maybe not immediately. So if you want immediate satisfaction, life doesn't tend to give you that so often. Only in bad films. No, that's right. Yeah. Oh man. Wow. Juan, you're an amazing man. Who do you want to be when you grow up? What are the next steps for you? What are you yearning for?
I'm yearning for an acting career where I don't have to do anything else but act.
Oh, beautiful.
To be able to provide for myself and my loved ones. That's every actor's goal. I don't have any interest in being a big movie star or a celebrity. I don't ever want anyone to call me a celebrity because it just feels icky. There's a stigma against that. You think celebrity, because you think an actor, no one calls Denzel Washington a celebrity. They call him an actor.
Ah, interesting.
No, he's an actor. They don't say celebrity. That's different. That's like it's just a level of notoriety and recognition that you may not always want, because celebrities like the tabloids and gossip and all of that. No one gossips about Denzel Washington. It's but that's nice. For me, that's really it, is being able to just work on a TV show regularly, on a show that runs for several years, or films or theater, or whatever it is that comes my way. But I just want to be able to work regularly as an actor to be able to make my living doing just that.
You want to be the best known actor that no one knows. Okay. Right.
People like that.
No, but I hear exactly what you're saying, because it is, there's a certain pressure, I guess, once you're in the limelight, that is so counterproductive, and that is so against, how shall I say that? It becomes its own burden. And I hate that. I love it when people recognize me because of my job in my community and say, "Oh, Stefan, how are you doing? Thank you so much for looking after me," blah, blah. And that's really, really nice. But at times, to now imagine that wherever I go, that happens, and happens to an exaggerated degree. "Oh, Stefan, you're so great. Give me an autograph." And really, you don't feel like, no, for fuck's sake, no. I understand where you're coming from. Yet, where do you draw the middle? Where is that healthy line there? And so, tell me in 5 years when I get you back onto the show, you need to tell me how you managed to negotiate that particular line.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think that there's so many wonderful actors that I know of or have been fortunate to work with that, work regularly as actors, and they have their group of fans because people watch the show, but they could walk down the street in Manhattan in peace and not be like mobbed by a group of fans with photos and pens and all of that. And that's especially true for Broadway actors. They're on stage, they do the show, that's their little audience of that 900 or 1,000 seat theater. And then they get to just walk down the street and go home. They don't have to worry about, paparazzi and everyone, because they're not at that level, but they're still making their living and a little more as an actor. So
This would be nice. I mean, you were saying that that so few are actually making that cutoff of $36,000 at the start of the show. So there you go. I wish you that you're nice and healthy there in your seat, in your position. This would be so nice. So I cross my fingers. And guys out there, if you have listened and you find Juan as well-spoken and entertaining and honest as I have, then hey guys, hit him up. Come on, there must be a role out there somewhere. Come on, we've got 1,400 views per show here. So someone out there must be of you must be a film producer or have an idea of collaborating. So you've got Juan here. Juan, one question that we didn't actually touch upon, but I think I want to explore. I know our time is running out, but please bear with me there.
Yeah, of course.
You're coming from a Hispanic background, where really being a macho, being a real man, is still very much on the cards. Is there? How much do you have to fight a toxic masculinity within yourself? Have you been brought up as boys don't cry? What was your own upbringing, may I ask?
Thankfully, so it's an interesting relationship I have with masculinity. I realize I'm not the most masculine person in the room. That's a given. I was raised in that culture, but I never participated because I knew from a very young age that I was a sensitive kid. I would cry. My mom encouraged, like, let it out, let your feelings out. No one ever told me. My dad never told me.
Beautiful.
Boys don't cry. Some of my other older male cousins did. Some of my uncles would say it to their kids. And I thanked God I did not experience that. But, certain things like, don't hold, as a kid leaving church, like, don't hold your Bible like that. Hold it down to your side because the girls hold it in front of them. I was like, what? It's a book. I'm holding a book. What are you talking about? That was what got to me as a kid. And that traveled with me all throughout life. Really just despising that. Like, I knew what toxic masculinity was before the term came up in the last 4 or 5 years, because I feel like we haven't really talked about it in that way beyond the last 5 years. Toxic masculinity as it's known today. So I definitely have struggled with it and experienced things like that throughout my whole life. Because of my very big family, I've seen so many different instances of toxic masculinity, but I despise it. And I've really, again, I was not afraid to cry in front of my partner. I was not afraid to tell my team that I just cried and had a meltdown and needed help and time to focus on myself. And so many people, especially unfortunately in the Hispanic community, don't take care of themselves. They, especially the men, because they feel I'm the provider. I can't take a break. I have to work. I have bills to pay. I have kids to take care of. I have, mouths to feed. So they don't take that time and focus on themselves. Lord knows how many, Hispanic men have heart attacks or strokes because they're not taking care of themselves. And Lord knows how much their emotional health and mental health are taking a toll on their bodies as well, because it's that hustle and grind. They'll work 16 hours a day and then die at 50 from some horrific disease because they didn't take care of themselves.
Absolutely.
Like, what kind of life is that?
Yeah. Man. Wow. No, I'm so pleased. You have got so many insights that either, I don't know how they all came to you at an early stage, but I'm so pleased to hear all that. That is, I'm honored that you came onto my show and that you opened up like that. It is so beautiful to see your resilience, your strength showing, your honesty, your humility, your integrity. It is beautiful. It's a breath of fresh air, and therefore, you honor me for coming onto my show, Juan. Thank you so much for being the man you are and letting us learn from your lessons. And that was a very humbling interview as far as I was concerned. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Stefan, for having me on. It was such a pleasure chatting with you.
And guys out there, you've seen a prime example here of the importance of taking active steps to look after yourself, to go out there, to live your life with a passion, because that in its own right will feed you, will bring you forward, will drag you out of the darkness. It is the taking action steps that is so important in our lives. So don't just live unintentionally, no, live intentionally and live with passion. And little teaser here, we have just realized that Juan and me, that we actually have got so much more to talk about. So this was actually interview 1, where we talked about resilience and how to live in a world of constant rejection and still live to your full potential. But there is a darker side to both Juan and me, and he will come back onto this show, and we're going to talk a bit more about other struggles that are so important to actually be honest about and talk about. But just a little teaser, Juan will be back. So you guys out there, Juan, thank you so much. And you guys out there, live with passion and look after yourself. Bye.
Bye, everyone.